but this is a reactivation skinny dipper. And for an example, we're getting ready to go down to Lake Okeechobee, and a skinny dipper is an awesome search bait. And a lot of times when you're out there during a bed tournament, you want something that's going to be productive. And there's a couple things that I'll do. The importance to this skinny dipper is you can throw it in a lot of grass, and it's relatively weedless. You know, I mean, you don't get caught up. You know, I mean, you're using a non-exposed hook, like an EWD style hook, so you don't have to really worry about getting caught up in grass. If I'm not around grass, I like throwing a drop shot or a Senko. But if I'm in heavy grass, this skinny dipper is like one of my go-to baits, because what it does, a lot of times, I mean, you'll catch fish on it, but a lot of times what you'll do is they'll show themselves. You know, on a long cast, you might cast out to the corner of the room, and you're reeling it back, all of a sudden there's a big boil, but he doesn't commit to it. You know there's a good chance that either one, there's a bedding fish over there, or two, there's a fish over there for you to catch. So you can follow up with something else. So this is an awesome search bait. And what I do with this is I don't put a lead weight in the front of this. I don't put a keel weight on this. I put this plastic Reaction Innovations little screw in the front of it, and that does a couple things. One, it allows you to buzz it across on the surface, kind of like a buzz bait, but it's weedless, or like a ribbit or a horny toad. It allows you to fish it on the surface, something a little different than what normal guys would go out there and throw. And I mean, you can fish it a little subsurface, you can get down a little bit, but it's a bait that allows you to really just, you know, key in on where these fish are, and also you can get a bunch of bonus bites on it as well. And this here you got to throw it on a stout rod because you're throwing a lot of vegetation, and I throw a 7.6 heavy Halo Twilight Series rod. I throw the Toray braid, it's 66 pounds. There's no reason to go light on this. I mean, the vast part of your line is out of the water, you know, not much of the line's in the water at all. And really, it's just that bait just on top, bubbling along the surface. Just what entices a lot of fish to bite, especially over mats or on top of like matted milfoil or around a lot of milfoil or hydrilla or pads. It's just another bait I like to throw. So basically now that the season's starting to come to an end, and we're getting down into the months of September, October. Now we're starting to get a couple cold fronts, the water temperature starts dropping. This is one of the best times to get out and fish, for what I'm concerned. I mean, it's the spawn and then it's the fall. When that water temperature drops below 65 degrees, you know, I mean, if the light bulb goes off for the fish and they just start feeding, we call it the fall feed. So this basically stretches from fall to early winter. The Alabama rig starts becoming dominant again. You know, they start feeding up, the shad start migrating to the backs of the creeks. So then again, you start fishing the Alabama rig, kind of like what you're doing in pre-spawn on those secondary points, those primary points when these fish start moving in the backs. And then I mean, you can vary. You know, in the fall, for whatever reason, the ones with the blades on it, they seem to work better. The Alabama rigs with the blades on it. Now come, you know, spring, it seems like without the blades work better. It's just something that I've discovered over the last 2 years. It's something you always want to keep in mind. And then the Kitech, I fish it like a jig. I mean, I talked to a few guys already, but that little weedless head that I have, I mean, I'll flip it into a lay down, I'll skip it under a dock. I mean, pretty much wherever you can cast it throughout a lake, I'll throw that bait. When you get around thick grass, you don't throw it, but that Kitech has caught me more fish and gave me more checks in the last year and a half than any bait that I own. And I mean, you could throw it on a ball head, you know, out deep, kind of like what I said there on those secondary and those primary points. You can drop shot it. You can do a lot of stuff with it. And then also the hollow belly. It's a bait that's also versatile. I know a lot of guys like to throw a keel weight on there, and you can do that. But I always choose to throw like a heavier bullet head or ball heads type hook.
Bass U, folks. Information is pouring over. If you want to learn more about every lake, how to fish shallow, deep, in between, skipping docks and rocks and cranking, slow wiggling, chatter, smattering, you get it at Bass U. Get on Bass U TV, check it out, sign up, be a member, be part of it, folks. Keep learning.